Chaplains hold a unique and crucial role within correctional facilities. As we embark on the second part of our training for correctional facilities chaplaincy, Unlocking the Door to Transformation Part 2, today, consider the metaphor of a key entering a lock. This image isn't just about opening a physical door, but symbolizes the transformative potential that you, as chaplains, bring into the challenging environments of prisons and jails. Hey there, future chaplains. Today we will discuss something really important: interfaith understanding in prisons. It's all about helping people with different beliefs get along and learn from each other. So let's dive in. Interfaith understanding is like making friends with people who believe in different things than you do. In prisons, we have folks from all sorts of backgrounds: Christians, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, and more. Our job is to help everyone respect each other's beliefs and find common ground. You see, Dr. Diane Eck, a Harvard professor, says interfaith work is all about creating bridges of understanding between people of different religious and cultural traditions. This is found from Eck of 2006. These bridges can make a big difference in creating a peaceful environment in prison. Prisons can be tricky places, and having strong faith can help people get through their time. However, when people with different beliefs live together, misunderstandings or conflicts can occur. So by promoting interfaith understanding, we can, number one, reduce tensions and conflicts. Number two, help people learn about different cultures and beliefs. Number three, encourage personal growth and open-mindedness. You see, we as chaplains play a big role in this. The American Correctional Chaplains Association say that chaplains should foster an atmosphere of respect for all faiths. Promoting interfaith dialogue is like being a good host at a party where everyone's different. Here are some ways that you can do it. Number one, organize interfaith discussion groups. Number two, celebrate different religious holidays as a community. Number three, invite guest speakers from various faiths. Number four, encourage inmates to share their beliefs respectfully. Now remember, it's not about changing anyone's beliefs. It's about learning to understand and respect each other. As a famous peacemaker, Desmond Tutu once said, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together." Promoting interfaith understanding can sometimes take time and effort. Some people might be scared to learn about other beliefs or have strong negative feelings about other religions. As chaplains, we need to be patient and understanding. We can, number one, start with small, low-pressure activities. Number two, focus on shared values like kindness and respect. Number three, address misconceptions gently and with facts. And lastly, number four, by example in how we treat people of all faiths. Now remember, change takes time. Dr. Eva Patel, the founder of Interfaith Youth Corps, says interfaith cooperation is about bridge building, not about changing people's beliefs. When we do this work well, it can have a big positive impact. You see, studies have shown that interfaith programs in prisons can 1. Reduce violence and disciplinary issues. 2. Improve mental health and well-being. Number 3. Help with rehabilitation and reduce recidivism. A study in the Pew Research Center found that inmates who participate in religious programs are less likely to be rearrested after release. That means that by fostering interfaith understanding, we're not just making prisons safer, but helping people grow and prepare for life after release. Now remember, as chaplains, you have a fantastic opportunity to be bridge builders and peacemakers. Your work promoting interfaith understanding can change lives and create a more harmonious world inside and outside of the prison walls. Let us now take a look at religious diversity, a guide for advanced chaplains in training. Religious diversity is a beautiful aspect of our world. As chaplains, we have the unique opportunity to engage with people from various faith backgrounds. According to the Pew Research Center, there are over 4,300 religions worldwide. That was located in the Pew Research Center in 2015. You see, that's a lot of different beliefs and practices. When discussing handling religious diversity, we're discussing creating a space where everyone feels respected and heard. Think about it like hosting a big dinner party where all your guests have different dietary needs. You want everyone to feel welcome and well fed. Now, as a chaplain, you'll be like the thoughtful host. You'll need to understand the basics of different faiths, to be open to learning more, and always approach others with respect and curiosity. Respect is the cornerstone of handling religious diversity. It's like the golden rule we have all learned as kids: treat others how you'd like to be treated. When we respect different beliefs, we create an environment where people feel safe expressing their faith. Research shows that feeling respected increases trust and openness in interfaith dialogues. So, by showing respect, you're not just being polite, you're creating the conditions for meaningful connections and understanding. Remember, respect doesn't mean that you have to agree with every belief. It's about acknowledging that each person's faith is important to them, just like yours is. One of the best tools in your chaplain's toolkit is active listening. This means tuning in when someone shares about their faith. It's not just about hearing the words, but trying to understand the feelings and meanings behind them. When you practice active listening, you might repeat what you've heard to ensure that you've heard it correctly. This means that you can ask thoughtful questions to learn more. This also shows the person that you truly value what they're sharing. Now, studies have shown that active listening can significantly improve communication and build trust. So as a chaplain, these skills will help you create more meaningful connections across all the faith lines. Interfaith dialogue is like friendly conversation between people of different faiths. It's not about trying to change anyone's mind, but about learning from each other. You see, as a chaplain, you can facilitate these conversations to promote understanding and harmony. The Parliament of the World's Religions suggests that interfaith dialogue can increase empathy and reduce prejudice. By encouraging open and respectful discussions, you're helping to build bridges between the different faith communities. Now remember, in these dialogues, everyone is a teacher and a learner. You might be surprised by how much you can learn from others' perspectives. Religious holidays are an excellent opportunity to show respect for different faiths. As a chaplain, you can help organize inclusive celebrations that honor the various traditions. This might mean acknowledging different holidays throughout the year or hosting multiple faith events. You see, research from Harvard Pluralism Project shows that recognizing diverse religious holidays can foster a sense of belonging in multi-faith communities. It's a way of saying, your faith matters, and we're glad you're here. When planning these celebrations, involve people from different faith backgrounds. They can share what's meaningful to them and help ensure the celebrations are respectful and authentic. We now will take a look at the ethics in chaplaincy, navigating moral compassion. Let's dive into a topic at the heart of our calling, ethics in chaplaincy. Now, I know ethics might sound heavy, but don't worry. We'll break it down all together. Now, think of ethics as our moral compass, guiding us through the sometimes tricky situations that we face in correctional facilities. In our role as chaplains, we're often walking a tightrope between different needs and expectations. On one side, we have the inmates we serve, each with their own spiritual and emotional needs. On the other, we have the rules and regulations of the correctional system. Balancing these can be challenging, but that's where our ethical framework comes in handy. Let's discuss some of the ethical puzzles that you might encounter. Now imagine an inmate confiding in you about feeling unsafe, but begging you not to tell anyone. Or perhaps you're asked to bend the rules, just a little, to allow a particular religious item. Now these situations aren't hypothetical. They're real challenges that chaplains face daily. These dilemmas often require clear-cut answers, and that's why it's so important for us to develop our ethical reasoning skills. It's like building muscle. The more we practice, the stronger we get at making tough decisions. Okay, let's talk up your ethical toolbox. There are several frameworks that we can use to help us make decisions. One popular approach is the four principles method: respect for autonomy, non-maleficence, aka not harm, beneficence, doing good, and justice. You see, another helpful tool in the ethics acronym: examine the situation. Think about the consequences. Hear from others. Identify the alternatives. Choose the best option and scrutinize the outcome. These frameworks aren't rigid rules, but instead guide us to help us think through complex situations. Okay, it's time we put our ethical muscles to work with some real world scenarios. For example, how would you handle a situation where an inmate from a minority faith group requests an accommodation that conflicts with prison regulations? Or what if you suspect an inmate is using religious services to pass contraband? Now remember, there's often no single right answer. The key is to approach each situation thoughtfully, considering the various stakeholders and the potential consequences of our actions. Now, developing ethical wisdom is a lifelong journey. It's not just about memorizing the rules, but about cultivating our moral intuition. It comes from experience, reflection, and ongoing learning. Be bold and seek advice from mentors or colleagues about facing tough decisions. Remember, we as chaplains, we're not just following a code of ethics, we're embodying it. Our actions and decisions can profoundly impact the lives of those we serve. Now, by approaching each situation with care, wisdom, and compassion, we can fulfill our calling to provide hope and guidance in the correctional system. Now that we've taken a look at the ethics side of things, let us now take a look at confidentiality issues in the correctional chaplaincy. Let's discuss something really important in your role as chaplains: keeping secrets. Like doctors and lawyers, you'll be trusted with personal information. It's a big responsibility and key to building trust with the people you're helping. Confidentiality is more than just keeping quiet. It's about respecting the dignity and privacy of every person you work with. Now, when someone shares something with you, they're putting their trust in you. That is very special. But here's the tricky part. There are times when you might need to share information to keep people safe in a correctional setting. What we're going to do now is to discuss handling these situations in an ethical and caring way. So we must ask ourselves, why is confidentiality so crucial? Imagine being in a tough spot and needing to talk to someone. You'd want to know that what you say stays between you and that person, right? Now, confidentiality can be a lifeline for the people you're working with. It gives them a safe space to open up, work through their feelings, and make positive life changes. That means that when you keep things confidential, you're helping to create an environment of trust and respect. I want you to remember, the people you're working with might not have many trusted people. Honoring their confidentiality shows them that they matter and that their thoughts and feelings also matter. Now let's discuss the tricky part, the limits of confidentiality. In a perfect world, everything shared would stay private. But in a correctional setting, we have to balance secrecy with safety. There are some situations where you might need to break confidentiality. These usually involve threats to someone's safety, such as if someone is planning to hurt themselves or others. It's not about betraying trust, but about preventing a harm. The key is to be clear about these limits from the start. Let the people you're working with know when you need to share that information. This way, you're being honest and respectful, even if you had to break confidentiality later. You see, dealing with confidentiality can be challenging. You might face situations that aren't black and white. That's okay. It's part of the job, and with time, you'll get better at handling these tough calls. One tip is to ask yourself, is keeping this information private going to cause more harm than good? It's okay to ask for help. Talk to your supervisor or colleagues. To get their input is important. Now remember, you're not alone in this. There are guidelines and ethical codes to help you navigate these waters, and your fellow chaplains are there to help to support you as well. Okay, we've talked about the hard part, so let's end on a positive note. When you handle confidentiality well, you do more than just follow the rules. You're building trust, showing respect, and helping people feel valued. Think about it. By maintaining someone's confidence, you might be giving them the courage to open up, face their challenges, or make positive changes in their lives. Now that's powerful stuff. So as you go forward as a chaplain, remember the importance of confidentiality. It's not just about keeping secrets. It's about honoring your trust and helping people in their journey of growth and healing. Now that we've discussed confidentiality, it's time that we move on and look at the security concerns in the prison ministry. It's time we talk about something super important: prison security. When you're working in a prison, safety is the top priority. You might wonder, how can I share my faith and help others while following all these rules? Don't worry, we've got you covered. First things first, you need to understand why these rules exist. They're not there to make your job harder, but to keep everyone safe, including you. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, strict security measures help maintain order and protect staff and inmates. I want you to remember that each prison might have slightly different rules. It's your job to learn and follow them to a T. This shows respect for the facility and helps build trust with the staff. Plus, when you follow the rules, you set a great example for the inmates you might minister to. It's time to talk about something else that is significant: PREA, or the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Now, this might sound like a heavy topic, but it's crucial for creating a safe prison environment. As chaplains, you play a big role in supporting PREA's goals. First, what is PREA? It's a law passed in 2003 to prevent, detect, and respond to sexual abuse in correctional facilities. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with my job as a chaplain? Well, quite a lot actually. As spiritual leaders, you're often in a unique position of trust. Inmates might feel comfortable sharing sensitive information with you that they wouldn't tell anyone else. This means you could be the first to hear about potential PREA violations. It's essential to know how to handle these situations appropriately. Now remember, your role isn't to investigate or solve these issues yourself. Instead, you're an important link in the reporting chain. The Department of Justice, or DOJ guidelines, state that all staff, including chaplains, must report any knowledge, suspicion, or information about sexual abuse or harassment. But here's where it gets tricky. You must also balance this with your duty of pastoral confidentiality. Being upfront with inmates about your reporting obligations is a good idea. You might say something like, "I'm here to listen and support you, but I want you to know that if you tell me something about any abuse, I'm required to report it and keep you and others safe." That means supporting PREA isn't just about reporting, though. It's also about creating a culture of respect and dignity. As a chaplain, you can help by 1. Promoting healthy relationships and respect for boundaries in your teachings. 2. Being a safe person for inmates to talk to about their concern. And 3. Supporting programs that help rehabilitate both victims and offenders. That means your work as a chaplain can greatly impact prison culture. By supporting PREA, you're helping to create a safer environment for everyone, and that's a big part of your ministry. You might be thinking, how can I connect with inmates when there are so many restrictions? Great question. The key is to be creative and flexible. Even with limitations, you still have a powerful impact. For example, focus on conversation and listening instead of bringing in many materials. The American Correctional Chaplains Association suggests that active listening is one of the most valuable skills for prison chaplains. You can also use approved religious text and materials provided by the prison. That means that many facilities have libraries or resource centers where you can find what you need. Remember, it's not about fancy programs or materials. It's about your presence and compassion. Here's a pro tip for you. Get to know the prison staff. They're not just there to enforce the rules, they can be your allies in ministry. Treat them with respect and kindness, just like you would the inmates themselves. A study in the Journal of Correctional Healthcare states that positive relationships between chaplains and prison staff lead to better inmate outcomes. That means that when staff see that you respect the rules and their authority, they're more likely to support your ministry efforts. Be bold and ask questions if you need clarifications on something. It's better to double check than to accidentally break the rule. Plus, showing that you care about following procedures will help you build trust with the staff itself. Let's discuss the next tricky item: boundaries. When ministering to people in challenging situations, it's natural to want to help in every way possible. However, maintaining professional boundaries is crucial in a prison setting. The American Correctional Association emphasizes the importance of clear boundaries between staff, including chaplains and inmates. This doesn't mean that you can't be compassionate. In fact, it's a key part of maintaining professional boundaries, helping you be empathetic and understanding while being clear about your role and the limits of your relationship. For example, you shouldn't share personal information or do favors that are not a part of the official duties. This might feel hard sometimes, but remember, it's for everyone's safety, well being, and including yours. Last but not least, let's talk about you. Serving as a prison chaplain can be incredibly rewarding, but also very challenging. It's super important to take care of yourself and stay aware of your surroundings. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA, provides guidelines for workplace safety in correctional institutions. These guidelines apply to all staff, including chaplains. Be familiar with emergency procedures and always stay alert. Remember, self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. Make time for your spiritual practices. Seek support when you need it, and don't hesitate to take breaks. When you care for yourself, you'll be better equipped to care for others. You're doing important work. Balancing ministry with security concerns creates a safe environment where real change can happen. Keep up the great work. Let us now discuss multiplying hands, coordinating volunteers in correctional facilities. So, what does it take to find fantastic volunteers who can help us make a difference? Recruiting volunteers for correctional facilities is like finding hidden gems. They're out there, and we need to know where to look. First, think about your local faith communities. Many people are looking for ways to serve, and you might be surprised how many would be interested in helping out in a correctional setting. Contact religious leaders and ask if you can speak to the congregations about volunteer opportunities. Remember local colleges and universities? Students, especially those studying social work, psychology, or religious studies, often need volunteer hours and might be excited about this unique opportunity. Put up flyers on campus billboards and contact student organizations. All right, you've got some eager volunteers. Awesome. Now it's time to prepare them for this vital work. Many of them may have never set foot in a correctional facility before, so we must ensure they're prepared. Start with the basics: safety protocols, facility rules, and what to expect. Volunteers must understand the unique environment that they're working in. You see, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has some great guidelines that we can use as a starting point. Next, let's focus on the spiritual and emotional aspects of the job. Teach volunteers about active listening, showing empathy, and maintaining appropriate boundaries. Role-playing exercises that can be super helpful at this point. They let volunteers practice these skills in a safe environment. Great job! Your volunteers are trained and ready to go. Now, how do we keep them motivated and engaged? This is where your leadership skills shine. Regular check-ins are essential. Set up monthly meetings where volunteers can share their experiences, ask questions, and support each other. This helps them feel connected and allows them to address issues early. Show your appreciation. A little recognition goes a long way. Now consider having an annual volunteer appreciation event of giving out certificates for milestones. Even a simple thank you note can make a big difference in motivating volunteers. Lastly, provide growth opportunities. Encourage experienced volunteers to mentor new ones or take on leadership roles in specific programs. This helps your program and keeps volunteers engaged and invested in their work. Remember, coordinating volunteers is all about building relationships. You're not just managing a program, you're creating a community of caring individuals who make a real difference in people's lives. Keep up the great work. Let us now take a look at cultural competence, the heart of effective chaplaincy. Cultural competence is like learning a new language, but instead of words, you know about people's beliefs, customs, and ways of life. As chaplains, you'll meet people from all walks of life, especially with a unique story. Being culturally competent means understanding and respecting these differences, even if they differ from your background. I want you to imagine you're trying to help someone but need to speak their language. It would be tough. And that's why cultural competence is so important. It helps you connect with people deeply, even if you don't share the same background. According to the National Center for Cultural Competence, this skill is crucial for providing adequate care in diverse situations. As chaplains, you'll work with people from many different cultures. religions, and backgrounds. Each person you meet will have a unique set of beliefs and practices. By developing cultural competence, you'll be better equipped to provide spiritual care that truly meets their needs. Think about it this way. If you're helping someone during a difficult time, wouldn't you want to understand what brings them comfort and what gives them hope? These things can be deeply rooted in a person's cultural background. The American Psychological Association emphasizes that cultural competence leads to more effective and compassionate care. Building cultural competence is like tending a garden. It takes time, care, and constant attention. Start by being curious about the cultures that you encounter. Ask respectful questions. Listen actively and be open to learning. Remember, it's okay not to know everything. What's important is your willingness to learn and understand. You can also enhance your cultural competence through training programs, reading diverse literature, and engaging with different communities. The Association of Professional Chaplains offers resources and guidelines for developing cultural competence in chaplaincy. When you apply cultural competence in your chaplaincy work, you create a safe, respectful place for the people you serve. This might mean adapting your communication style, being mindful of cultural taboos, or incorporating culturally significant practices into your spiritual care. For example, you might learn about different morning rituals to better support someone grieving, or familiarize yourself with religious dietary restrictions to avoid accidentally causing discomfort. The Journal of Healthcare Chaplaincy highlights how these minor considerations can make a big difference in providing compassionate care. Remember, cultural competence isn't a destination, it's a journey. As our world becomes more diverse, there will always be new things to learn and understand. Stay curious, stay open, and keep growing your understanding of different cultures. Consider journaling your experiences and reflections as you encounter different cultures in your work. This can help you track your growth and identity to the identification of areas where you need more learning. The American Medical Association suggests that self-reflection is a key to developing lasting cultural competence. Now that we've looked at all these various areas, let us start looking at support networks, the strengthening connections behind the bars. Isolation can be one of the biggest challenges in correctional facilities, but here's the fantastic thing. We can change all that. Building strong support networks can create a lifeline that helps inmates navigate their journey toward rehabilitation and personal growth. Research shows inmates with strong support systems are more likely to successfully reintegrate into society after release. When people cheer us on, we feel more motivated and capable of facing challenges. The same goes for those behind the bars. As chaplains, you play a crucial role in fostering these connections. You're not just spiritual guides, but the backbone of our efforts to build a supportive community. Your ability to unite people and create a sense of belonging is instrumental and can make a difference in an inmate's life. Let's talk about the different support networks that we can create. It's like weaving a beautiful, strong web that catches people when they fall and helps them climb higher. First, there's peer support. Encourage inmates to form study groups, prayer circles, or book clubs. These peer-to-peer connections can provide emotional support and a sense of normalcy. Then, we have mentorship programs. Pairing more experienced inmates with newcomers can create powerful bonds and provide guidance. It's like having a big brother or big sister to show you the ropes. Remember, family connections. Helping inmates maintain and strengthen ties with their loved ones outside can motivate positive change. As chaplains, you're like master weavers of these support networks. Your unique position allows you to see the big picture and connect the dots in ways others might miss. You can organize group activities that bring people together. It can be a multi-faith discussion group or a community service project within the facilities. These activities create opportunities for inmates to form meaningful connections. You're also in a great position to identify struggling and isolated inmates. Your compassionate outreach can be the first step in building their support network. Remember, you're not just facilitating connections between the inmates. You're also a vital part of their support system. Your consistent presence and care can anchor the stormy seas of incarceration. Building support networks in a correctional setting can be challenging and the waters can be rough. But don't worry, we have some strategies to help you. One challenge is overcoming inmate mistrust. Years of difficult experiences might make some hesitancy to open up. Patience and consistency are key here. Show up reliably. Keep your promises, and slowly but surely trust will grow. Another hurdle can be institutional restrictions. Closely working with facility administration to understand the rules and find creative ways to foster connections within those boundaries. Lastly, be prepared for setbacks. Sometimes conflict arises or people withdraw. That's okay. Use these moments as opportunities for growth and learning. Your steady presence can help guide inmates back to the support network when they are ready. When we build strong support networks, we're not just helping individual inmates, we're creating a ripple effect that can transform the entire correctional community. As inmates feel more supported, they're often more motivated to participate in rehabilitation programs. This can lead to a more positive atmosphere throughout the facility. These networks can also extend beyond the walls of institution. As inmates maintain connections with family and prepare for release, they're better equipped to reintegrate into society successfully. By fostering these support networks, you're not just changing lives today, you're planting seeds of hope and connection that can grow and flourish for years. Remember, every small act of support you facilitate is a step towards a more connected, compassionate, and world. Let us now take a look at deep healing, advanced pastoral care techniques for long-term inmates. We're now going to explore some potent tools for helping inmates facing extended stays behind bars. These aren't your everyday pastoral care techniques. We're talking about advanced methods that can make a real difference in the lives of those we serve. Working with inmates isn't always easy, but with these advanced techniques, you'll be better equipped to offer the kind of deep, meaningful support that can truly change lives. Let's explore how we can bring hope and healing to those who most need it. Folks, when dealing with inmates facing long sentences, we've got to understand the unique challenges they're up against. It's not just about being locked up. It's about facing years, sometimes decades, away from their families, friends, and everything familiar. Research shows that long-term inmates often struggle with depression, anxiety, and a loss of identity. They might feel like they've lost their place in the world outside. That's where we come in, to help them find meaning and purpose, even in the most challenging circumstances. Remember, each inmate is on their journey. Our job is to walk alongside them, offering support and guidance tailored to their needs. Now, let's discuss our next tool in our toolbox, building trust. Without trust, we can't help anyone much, but with it, we can move mountains. Building trust with inmates takes time and patience. It's about showing up consistently, listening without judgment, and proving that you're there for the long haul. Remember, many inmates have had their trust broken before. Your steady presence can be a powerful healing force. Try to see beyond the inmate label to the person underneath. Show genuine interest in their stories, their hopes, and their fears. This authentic connection is the foundation for all more profound work that you'll do together. All right, team, let's level up our listening skills. Advanced pastoral care isn't just about talking. It's about hearing what's being said, even when it's not written. Practice active listening. This means giving your full attention, using open body language, and reflecting back to what you've heard to show understanding. But go beyond that. Listen for the emotions behind the words, the unspoken fears, and the hidden hopes. Sometimes, the most powerful thing that you can do is create a safe space for inmates to express themselves fully. Your compassion will listen on to them heart to heart and can be a healing balm for souls silenced for too long. When someone faces a long period behind bars, they need help seeing the bigger picture. That's where your spiritual guidance comes in. Help inmates explore questions of meaning and purpose. What can they learn from this experience? How can they grow, even in confinement? Many find strength in their faith during incarceration. Your role is to nurture that faith, whatever form it takes. Encourage practices like meditation, prayer, or journaling, anything that helps inmates connect with their inner selves and a higher purpose. These spiritual anchors can provide stability in the stormy seas of long-term incarceration. Remember, my friends, the work you're doing is invaluable. You're bringing light into some of the darkest places, offering hope where it's needed the most. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep caring. You're making a real difference, one inmate at a time. Next, we're going to take a look at the power of storytelling. Stories have a special kind of magic, don't they? They can take us to far off places, introduce us to new friends, and help us understand big ideas. As chaplains, you have the fantastic ability to use stories to help people heal and grow. Dr. Dan McAdams, a psychologist of Northwestern University, says we all have a narrative identity, meaning we understand our lives as an ongoing story. When you share stories with inmates, you're helping them see their life story in a new light. You know how good it feels when someone listens to you? That's the power you have as a chaplain when you're using storytelling. Stories can build bridges between people, even when their lives seem very different. Researcher Breen Brown discusses how sharing stories can create empathy and connection. You make a special bond when you tell or listen to an inmate's story. This can help inmates feel less alone and more understood. Life can be challenging, especially for people in prison, but stories can be like little flames of hope in dark times. You can share tales of people who have overcome significant challenges or found strength they didn't know they had. Dr. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote about how finding meaning in suffering helped people survive. Your stories can help inmates see that they too can find meaning and purpose, even in difficult situations. One of the most incredible things about stories is that they can always change. As a chaplain, you can help inmates see that their life story isn't set in stone. They can start a new chapter, even rewrite parts of the story. Narrative therapy, developed by Michael White and David Epstein, shows how we tell our story can change how we feel and act. Helping inmates find new ways to tell their stories give them the power to imagine a different future. Sometimes the most powerful story is the one that you've listened to. When you give inmates the chance to tell their stories, you offer them a precious gift. Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, a pioneer in relationship-centered care, says listening to someone's story can be healing. As you listen with an open heart, you're helping inmates feel heard and valued. This can be a big step in their healing journey. Remember, your role as a chaplain is essential. By using the power of storytelling, you're not just passing the time, you're helping to heal hearts and change lives. Keep sharing those stories and listening with care. You're making a real difference. As we conclude part 2 of our training on correctional facilities chaplaincy, remember that your role as a chaplain is not just about providing spiritual guidance, but about being a beacon of hope and transformation. Your presence can unlock doors to new beginnings and healing for those behind bars. Remember the principles we've discussed as you continue your journey understanding your audience, building trust, navigating legal and ethical challenges, and prioritizing self-care. Thank you for your dedication and commitment. Together, we can profoundly impact the lives of those that we serve.